All right, everyone, we start off today with, I think, very, very strange news, which is the New York Times hit piece, their stink piece regarding Project Veritas, and it appears, although I guess it's kind of confirmed, not exactly sure, that the FBI might be leaking details to the New York Times. Of course, when Veritas was raided, the New York Times mysteriously knew about it like within hours. How did they find out? Why do I feel like some field agent or something tipped them off from a phone booth right afterwards? Is, hey, we just raided Project Veritas. Yeah, it's pertinent to Ashley Biden's diary. Now, can I ask this? Why is it that the New York Times is not talking about the contents of the diary, which would be a significant political scandal? Well, because it's a political hatchet job. Veritas is a competitor. They do actual journalism. The New York Times hypocritically saying, well, they straddle the line between criminal activity and actual journalism. It's sort of this gray area. That's what the New York Times, though, is explicitly involved in at the time by taking potentially FBI tips, or at the very least having some apparent insider knowledge into what's going on in a potential criminal proceeding. This is, and by the way, the cat is yowling. It's an animal day, as you can tell. Today we're celebrating animals, and not the Biden family. They're not worth celebrating. Or Kamala Harris, to be clear. But this gray area really more applies to the New York Times. Between their at least muckraking activities, their dubious activities, and their non-journalism. Of course, the New York Times hasn't really done real journalism in quite some time. The cat and the dog kind of sort of tolerate one another, by the way, so it's showing its ass to the dog, I guess. Anyway, first and foremost, though, before I get into this, because it's so strange, keep in mind there will be a pinned comment down below if you're watching this video on YouTube with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. Keep in mind I make several exclusive videos a day, so we'll get that out of the way first. It's a high-energy day, by the way. I am double caffeinated at the moment. Interesting times, yes it is, the New York Times. But here's my thoughts. This piece is hopelessly self-satirizing and ironic when you think about it. I know that some people, like Soccer Mom America, still thinks New York Times, okay, that's journalism. That's the media. They've been primed to believe Project Veritas is, if not outright criminal, at least dubious, like their pieces are always selectively edited and stuff. And the thing is, if you look at independent journalism and independent commentary and independent analysis, what I do, what like Andy Ngo would do, or Tim Pool or something, H.A. Goodman and all the others, that's actual journalism. Asking questions, attempting to analyze beyond the most superficial level. And the New York Times no longer does that. I think it's been a number of decades, really, since the legacy media, by and large, did the journalism thing. Even if you look even at the format of the news that they do, if you look at legacy media, newsprint, cable, whatever, 30 years ago, it's mostly straight-up reporting. What happened, and the irony is this is partially the responsibility of Fox News, is that the reformatting of U.S. media, and this has affected basically all world media, has changed dramatically. If you look at newsreels from the 80s or the 70s, it's like night and day. Now it's all like, instead of straight cuts, long-form commentary, you have some like round-table opinion and analysis. Newsprint has gone from having some opinion and mostly like, hey, here's the statistics of what happened, here's like the ball game numbers, has gone to being mostly opinion pieces. This is the case for Bloomberg, it's the case for WAPO, it's the case for the New York Times, etc. On cable, it's gone from the Walter Cronkite sort of thing, or the Larry King sort of thing of yesteryear, to blaring lights and lots of jump cuts, short form, very terse, almost proto-mimetic in its format. And now you have a legacy media outlet attacking a competitor. And this has happened repeatedly. And this is not just, by the way, towards Veritas or organized groups. They've done this to private individuals. You have stink pieces by individual journos made about de facto competitors who are more independent. Sometimes including just regular old like YouTubers. A YouTuber that mainly does gaming does a little bit of socio-political commentary, and all of a sudden something like this happens. I would like to ask why the legacy media won't report on the actual content of the diary, which Project Veritas has had material of. They held off on an official sort of release on this. A rogue employee maybe at Veritas or something like that, maybe a hacker was involved, leaked material, the FBI got involved because there was a break-in, there was a theft of material. But the New York Times knew about it right away. How did they do that? It's sort of like, you remember when, I think it was when Giuliani was raided, weren't there CNN people there literally at the time, full news crew recording? Was it that, or was it Trump's lawyer? I can't quite remember. Maybe it was both. This seems to happen an awful lot lately, and there always seems to be a political bent to it. I would think that the bigger scandal here is, how did the New York Times know so quickly? Why are they suppressing the actual story? So someone gets raided, pertinent to Hunter Biden's laptop, like Giuliani and his people. They know right away. They talk about how this is evidence of criminal activity. There's going to be prosecutorial stuff going on. But they won't actually talk about the importance of the material that was supposedly stolen, supposed hacking, etc. They won't discuss it. With this, they won't discuss the diary contents, which implicate Joe Biden as potentially involved in inappropriate behavior with his own daughter at the time, his own underage daughter. Not even mentioned in this piece. Link in the description, archived of course, it's not even mentioned. Well, what's the importance then? Other than it being Joe Biden's daughter, why would it be of particular importance? Unless you are getting those inside tips from the FBI. The FBI has let the New York Times know, hey, yeah, there was burglary and we have suspects, and Project Veritas, people like James O'Keefe, is suspected to have gone in the dead of night with all black clothes on, snuck into the home and taken the diary in order to get dirt on the Bidens. I doubt that happened. I highly doubt it. Now the cats are fighting. What I don't doubt, though, is that there are shenanigans involved here. It's sort of like during the Trump era, we got used to having all sorts of unnamed sources inside of the White House, who may have been literally a night janitor, spinning all sorts of elaborate yarns about what Trump was supposedly up to. Oftentimes they didn't pan out, but there appears to have been some coordination based on the timing of stories that take some time to actually create and edit anyway. And coverage of raids, etc., and movements within the intel community. Well, I mean, if you want to show there's no deep state, the legacy media does journalism, it's not coordinating in a political fashion, it has no bias, it's actual analytic journalism. That's really not the way to prove, quote unquote, to people that that's actually the case. And I think this is probably why the legacy media is so distrusted, because this sort of thing, this sort of obvious, dubious shenanigans, this chicanery keeps happening over and over and over again. I got 3 fucking tips over the course of the last 24 hours from people just on Twitter with regards to this story, because it's technically so explosive. Not explosive because, well, Veritas robbed Joe Biden's daughter's home. No, that's not why it's explosive. We're looking at a situation where there's an ongoing case. There's an investigation. As far as I know, there's no indictment or charges at the moment towards any specific individual. You just have raids, supposedly based on probable cause. We'll see if that's the case actually in the end, if anyone gets in trouble. It could have been a third party. It could have been somebody that did have a political axe to grind, then came to Project Veritas. Maybe they're just raiding to try to recover the diary at large. But I mean, that corroborates the material there, and I haven't seen a single story about it. Even I don't think Fox even is touching the story, which should give you an example of Fox being, you know, of course, de facto legacy media as well. Yeah, it's ironic, the New York Times saying that other people are straddling the line of real journalism. Well, I mean, again, the New York Times does that on a daily basis at this point. What's not opinion there is usually politically motivated. There are a million lies by structure and omission in their articles. No wonder nobody supports them anymore. No wonder the New York Times has had various circulatory problems over the last half decade or so. That's about all. Peace out.